Welcome to the Breaking Average podcast, the podcast designed to challenge you to break the mold that average has on the world. Each episode offers insights directly from those who choose to break average every day. Now for the latest insights, here are your hosts, Paul Gustafson and Barry Smith.
Welcome to the Breaking Average podcast. I am here with Barry Smith. I am so pumped. We just had a great discussion on Michael Jordan, that 1982 NCAA championship. But man, we got more to go, man. I'm excited. How you doing?
Doing awesome, man. Always glad to be here and looking forward to today's topic. It's going to be a good one.
It is going to be good. It's going to be good. So once you tee it up, this is your pick. So I had picked the way we did this. If you go back 2 episodes, guys, you'll see how we went back and forth. And Barry made this pick. This was his second pick. What'd you pick?
Jackie Robinson. I know we kind of set it up like, what's a big sporting event that made an impact in your life and why, and all that. But for me, I mean, I don't know how many times I've answered this question: who's your favorite athlete? Who's your favorite ball player? And it's always Jackie Robinson. Just so inspired me at a young age. Man, I can't remember how young I was when I first learned about him, and the backstory. Baseball was the sport that I excelled at the most. I played all the sports. My brothers and I, our house growing up was just all about sports. That was it. But baseball was one I excelled at. And just, he inspired me. He was a guy that, just with his ability. And as I got a little bit older, I learned, really what he was all about, and not just a ball player. And the impact of what he did, on the field in more ways than one, but really what he did off the field. And even after his baseball career, just an incredible story. And when we think about, the athletes, and we're going to have some other good names, some other great names that come up to this in this series. But to me, this is the legacy pick, right? This is the guy who was not only a great athlete, but he was a great human being, and the impact he has left and continues to leave. Here we are, 75 years, I guess almost 76 now, after he broke the color barrier in 1947. And man, diversity, equity, inclusion is still a daily battle, daily fight. You and I have a lot of mutual friends, Paul, that are working and training and teaching, coaching, mentoring in this space. And to think that it's been 75 years and we've still got, the challenges that we have today, it's just, to me, crazy. But turn back the clock, and I really believe a lot of it on a global level started when Jackie broke that color barrier, and just the way he acted, the way he responded. An amazing ball player, right? We know that, just like Michael Jordan was, just some great ball players, and we got some other names that'll be coming up over the next few episodes here. But he was a great human being, and I think the impact using the sports platform, to do what he did and to go through what he did to do what he did, just incredible, and his impact continues on today. I mean, he's been gone now, passed away in 1972. So, what are we, 51 years now since we lost him. And, yet his wife be 101 in July. Rachel's doing a great job with the Jackie Robinson Foundation. They just opened up a museum up there last year. And so I know my next trip to New York, I know the Jackie Robinson Museum is going to definitely be on my stopping list. But just, we talk about who inspires us, who makes us want to be a better version of ourselves. And Jackie Robinson was one of those guys. So I'm looking forward to kind of hearing your thoughts, and maybe we'll even throw in a couple Jackie quotes that I think are really relevant to anybody in any situation, anything we're doing, anything we're striving to be. It's just a great guy, great man. And the legacy that he's left behind, man, it just continues. And I think it will far into the future. He was one of the guys. He was one of the first to really cross that line.
I so agree with you. And here's the thing, right? There's two that stand out as impact players in our society: Martin Luther King Jr. and Jackie Robinson.
Yeah.
And it was different times, different eras. 1947. 1947. I mean, I don't know what it was like in 1947. You know, I know my dad was, just coming out of high school probably then, right? So he grew up in Long Island, and Jackie Robinson played for the Brooklyn Dodgers. We're talking about Brooklyn, not L.A. Dodgers. Brooklyn. All right, that's a tough city to play in. Tough city. And I know my dad was a Dodgers fan, and he was pretty pumped about it. I know locally here, I live in Fredericksburg, which is south of Washington. And we just got a national minor league team, the Nationals minor league team here in Fredericksburg. And, it's not AAA, but it's still a decent team. And we just had, who's the former coach or former manager for the Nationals that ended up going over to Houston, and they just won it?
Houston's Robinson. No, Dusty Baker.
Dusty Baker.
He did. I had to think for a minute.
Yeah. All right. So Dusty Baker's son, his son is probably 21 now. Played for the Fredericksburg Nationals right here.
Very cool.
And what's really cool is that they named that road it's a beautiful stadium right here. Best minor league stadium probably in the nation. They named the road Jackie Robinson Way.
Yeah.
And the reason why they named it, the owner of the team, and I wish he could buy the real Nationals because they're for sale. The owner of the team grew up in Brooklyn.
Wow.
And he was an avid Brooklyn Dodgers fan. Okay. 47, 48, 49. And he would go to the game, every game. And afterwards, he'd see every week, every Sunday game, I think it was, he would connect with Jackie.
Wow.
And Jackie would spend time, just that moment of connection with him. And he would walk with Jackie, to the players, where the players enter in. So Jackie would park, they would sit, they would talk, they would have some conversation, and he would just walk with him. Jackie allowed him to walk until he couldn't go any further. And that really made an impact. And so there's a whole set of balls at this minor league team that's on display. Tons of balls. You name the player from way back when, it's in there. It's the Barry. You got to come to a game.
All right, man. You got me sold.
All right.
You got me sold.
Yeah. So I think there's a Jackie Robinson signed ball right in there. So next time I go there, I'm going to look for it. I'll send a picture and I'll post it on our breakingaverage.com website and put it out there for everybody. But think about it. 1947, that was probably the most significant thing that ever happened in that year. The second most significant thing that happened that year was that they discovered the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Oh my God. I did not know that. See, you prepped that, man. You had that. You were saving that in your back pocket.
Oh, I just wanted to see what happened in 47. What happened in 47, right? My dad graduated from high school, goes to Dartmouth before he goes to the Naval Academy. This guy, meets and greets Jackie on the way every Sunday home game. And then Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered. But I just think back, this isn't about sports, guys. No. I mean, we love sports and there's impact moments, but he didn't just make the team, he played on that team. And I think that was the big moment, right? So if you watch that movie with Chad Boseman, and God rest his soul, what a great actor he was. And it's got Harrison Ford as Branch Rickey. And wow, Branch doing what he did. I mean, talk about breaking average.
He's the pioneer, man.
I mean, he's like, look, he's a good ball player. Let's pull him in. Let's get him in on this team. And he goes from the Montreal Expos to the Brooklyn Dodgers. And not only that, he makes that team. And not only that, he creates the culture changes on that whole team.
Culture changing everywhere.
Everywhere. And the hardest moment, I got to be honest with you, Barry, if you watch that movie, and it would be hard to see this at any level if this really happened. is the coach for the Phillies. I think it was.
It did
And
really happen.
if all those, how did we speak to people that way? Did we really talk to people that way and condescend in such a way like that? Like somebody doesn't belong because of the color of their skin?
But do you want to know? And I forget if it was Ricky or who it was.
It was Branch. It was Branch. Yeah.
Yeah, but said that after that, that united that clubhouse like nothing else.
Yes.
And that was, again, that's just the spirit of, what people coming together can do. And when you see that kind of adversity, and, it's a good, checkup from our own neck up on how we act sometimes. One of Jackie's quotes, a life is not important except in the impact it has on other lives. That's one of his most referenced quotes. And that has nothing to do with baseball.
Nothing to do with baseball.
And you think about what he did, what he went through, and how that changed the culture of the Brooklyn Dodgers and how it united the guys. Again, referencing the movie 42, when they show Pee Wee Reese with his arm around Jackie out in the infield, they did that. Pee Wee Reese did that, and there's a lot of elements. There's some very significant little, clips in that movie that really happened. And obviously we're put in there for the purpose to bring the reality to it. But it changed the nation. And eventually change the world. Now, did it completely fix it? Obviously not. But it really changed the mindset. And all the little pieces, like the Negro baseball fans that were going Negro League games. Now they were going to the big league games to see Jackie. So that changed that up. It changed the dynamic of sports, and open it up later on, for the other sports. And certainly now there's, it's really about, who's going to help you win the game. But that line had to be crossed, and I just would like to see that type of change happen in the workplace, in the world we live in today. Why does it have to take the American pastime to be the catalyst for that type of change and that type of unity? And that's why, Jackie's just my legacy pick on this, because it's that mindset, that cultural shift that we still need to dig into today to continue to move in the right direction. And man, it just seems like at times it's moving too slow. I'd love to get some DE&I feedback, back on Jackie and the podcast and, with this episode, and, how can we use this platform to make a difference?
Yeah. Well, and I love the number 42, right? So they retire that number from all players except for one day where they wear that number. Yeah. April 15th, you think it's your tax day, but it's actually Jackie Robinson Day. So we're right around there at that point of this first play of this podcast, right up on that April 15-ish time frame. So Jackie Robinson Day. And so, a couple of years ago, they came out with this cool patch. Very.
Yes, I know. You
got one like this, don't you?
My good friend Paul sent me one of those.
42, right? And it's a significant number, and it's not the answer to the universe as the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Jackie Robinson was the answer to the universe, right? He showed us something here. He stepped forward. Can you imagine, just for a moment, wherever you're at, whether you're listening or watching, can you imagine being in the shoes of Jackie Robinson and stepping in an environment you have never been, that you are not welcome to be in? Nobody else has been in that place that you've been, with the color of skin that you have and the background that you've been, and you're stepping in that. Can you imagine the fear that you may have experienced? Are they going to welcome me? And then hearing some of the comments that were made, yet he found a way through it. He broke the barrier for all of us, independent of color, because we're all different in some way. Every one of us is different in some way. And we've got to just step up. We've got to step forward, and we got to go make that impact in the lives of other people. And that's what he did. He just didn't do it for himself. He did it for all of us. So that's what I love about Jackie Robinson.
Yeah, he just So many great stories out of it. And just, you know what, I had a laugh because, we all kind of look at him now, I think, as being kind of a strong, passive guy who just stood there and took it and, knew there was a greater cause and all that. And Branch Rickey and everybody else were like, man, is this really the right guy? Because he had been kind of a hothead, when he was he was a little bit of a hothead. I shouldn't say a hothead. He was defending himself, intentionally and vocally and, fighting for what was right. Even in junior college in UCLA, when he went to the military, actually had an incident, which we all know has been repeated so many times back in that time, of being sent to the back of the bus in the military now, right? And he refused to do it. And it actually resulted in a court-martial that later pretty much went away, but kept him from going overseas with his tank unit that was actually the first black tank unit to see action in World War II. And he was part of that unit, but because of what was going on with the court-martial and everything, he was not deployed with them. Who knows what would have happened? But my point in all that was he was not the prototypical type of guy that you would want coming into that position. Yet, Branch Rickey said, hey, can you do this? He says, well, what do you want? A guy that is strong enough to fight back? And Branch Rickey said, no, Jackie, I want a guy that's got enough courage that he won't. And Jackie's like, okay, I'll tell you what, Branch, I'll be that guy. And he did, man. And, obviously Hollywood portrays it in 42, but I know better than to think that even does justice to what he really went through. And, just stood his ground. And it's just, why can't we do that? Why do we have to have any kind of barriers, race, color, creed, religion? I mean, it doesn't matter. There's always something there. Like you said, I'm different. You're different. We're all different. And how do we bring that together? How do we come together? How do we change the culture we live in? Who's the Jackie Robinson of today? We need another Jackie, right?
Yeah.
He even got later involved in politics and didn't really try and pick a party. Most people recognize him as a conservative, but there was people from both parties he didn't want to affiliate with. He just wanted that unity. It never changed. It never changed. That's what he wanted. I think another one of his quotes is I'm not concerned with your liking or disliking me. All I ask is that you respect me as a human being. Again, nothing to do with the sports field. Just saying, hey, I don't care if you like me or not. Respect me. I'm a human being. Man, you can just walk down the street today and see people not following that logic.
Yeah, it's so good. And I love what you shared about what Branch Rickey shared to Jackie in that moment where he was like, ready to fight. And I went and pulled that thread, that quote, and it's really interesting. It bears repeating. He says, Robinson, I'm looking for a ball player with guts enough not to fight back.
Yeah.
And then he adds, you've got to win this thing with hitting and throwing and fielding ground balls and moving forward, making that impact, and then the whole Pee Wee Reese thing, I think is powerful too.
A lot of his teammates, were totally on board. He had some teammates that weren't, and Branch Rickey. And I mean, even the commissioner of baseball said, look, this is happening. Jackie's the first, but there's more coming. And look, teams, you got to accept it. We're gonna work through this collectively. And they're just like in anything. There was a lot of people who said, no, we're not doing that. We'll strike and we'll do this. And they basically said, okay, well, do that. You're going to be suspended. And I don't care, if it ruins baseball for a decade. We're doing this. Every single person in this country has a right to play baseball. I forget who the commissioner was at the time who said that, maybe Happy Chandler, I forget. But there was enough people to kind of, enough people with authority, right, to just kind of keep him going. Without that, it would have been a game and done probably. But the whole thing, which tells me that, society, it was time for that. Man, society's time for some change today. What are we gonna, what's a catalyst gonna be? We need it. We need another, man, I can't remember the last, really inspirational leader we've had. It's been a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's those moments for each of us, right, where we're at. So we may not be, whoever's watching this or listening, you may not be the inspirational moment for the world at this moment, but you're the inspirational person in your household. You're the inspirational person in your neighborhood, in your workplace, in your church, in your community. You can go in there and speak life into other people. And I love, and this is why I like the Branch Rickey element to it, because he spoke life into Jackie.
Yeah.
And in turn, Jackie spoke life into the rest of us. And then in turn, I'm looking at some of these quotes. And I just got to share a few of these, right? So Pee Wee Reese, we talked about him, Hall of Famer, Dodger, shortstop, teammate, Jackie Robinson. He says this about Jackie. He says, to do what he did has got to be the most tremendous thing I have ever seen in sports.
Yeah.
That's pretty powerful. And at first, those two guys didn't get along at all. Right?
Well, I think everybody was unsure, right? Just when, think about when something totally disrupts what you're used to, right? We're uncomfortable. It's unknown. There's some fear in there. You don't really know how to respond, and everybody kind of had to go through their own learning curve of what it was like. Certainly Jackie had it tougher than anybody. I think that goes without saying, but it took change, right? Yeah. I think back to, what was it, Rocky IV, when they fought Christmas Day in Russia. Yeah. And Rocky does his little speech at the end, and if I can change, then you can change, and we can all change.
Yeah.
Man, how appropriate is that little movie clip to, many times throughout history. But it starts with one, right? It starts with one. First, Jackie changed, right? Jackie came in, then everybody else had to change, and obviously we've come a long way, but man, we still need some change. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, here's a few other quotes here that kind of show the inspiration of this man and maybe as someone to follow, right? So every leader follows somebody. So we got leaders on this call. You guys are watching, listening, but you follow, right? You're going to follow the values that you really care about. And there's some values here as I read some of these quotes. I'll share just a few of them. So I think maybe this was the MLB commissioner. You talked about that a moment ago. His name was Robert Manfred.
Okay.
He says about Jackie, the greatest moment in the history of baseball is when Jackie, 1947, greatest moment in the history of baseball. All right. Hank Aaron, Jackie's character was much more important than his batting average.
Yeah.
And he had a pretty significant batting average, his character.
I'll tell you something. There's another story, including Hank Aaron. When they were talking, they became, pretty tight. And Jackie told Hank one time, he said, the game of baseball is great, but the greatest thing is what you do after your career is over. Again, another legacy statement, right?
Yeah.
That's what Jackie was so excited about. And he just, he continued till he passed in 1972. Yeah. He was still out there doing things. I mean, the awards, he got awards from President Bush. He got awards from President Reagan. Arnold Schwarzenegger as governor of California, put him into the California Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just unbelievable. You mentioned the road at the stadium, Jackie Robinson Way. I mean, there's buildings and stadiums and streets and stuff named after him all over the country.
Yeah.
To help us remember, to honor him and what he did. But what a man, and his smile. I'm a smile guy, right?
Yeah.
Jackie's smile is just something special, just an amazing guy.
Yep. Branch Rickey says, a credit to baseball and to America. Archbishop Desmond Tutu says, black person, talking about Jackie. Jackie made it against the most tremendous odds, right? So the odds, And sometimes we feel the odds against us. And we got to remember that there's others that have gone through maybe worse challenges than we have. And it's time just, and some of the quotes from Jackie himself, you mentioned one that was really, I mean, I love this one because I'll take this quote, the one he says that life's not important except in the impact it has on other lives.
Yeah.
I say, guys, take that quote, a life is not important except in the impact it has in other lives, and apply it to your business. A business is not important except the impact it has on other lives. If you've got a church, put church in there. A church is not important except the impact it has on other lives. Whatever organization you have, whatever team you're a part of, whatever family unit you have, take that word life, which is a good word. It's not meant to replace it, but recognize what is it that you value. Take that value and apply it to that definition. It is powerful. It will transform your business. It changes your mindset, which you and I have been talking a lot about over the last few weeks, is mindset.
Yeah. That's everything. Man,
Yeah.
think about his mindset at the time.
Yeah. Well, dude, this was awesome. Lots of great quotes, guys. We'd love to hear from you what your favorite Jackie Robinson quote is, or maybe somebody else like Desmond Tutu, or what other quotes that are there that people have made about Jackie. And just recognize, a life is not important except on the impact it has on other lives. And Jackie Robinson made an impact on our lives, all of us. So, yep, great pick, Barry. Love it.
Yeah, Jackie's awesome, and I'll bring this quote in. I'll use this quote to set up a tip and challenge. Life is not a spectator sport. If you're going to spend your whole life in a grandstand just watching what goes on, in my opinion, you're wasting your life.
Ooh, and
I think about this because this is not that exact quote, but something I say to the folks I help, get started with the John Maxwell certification program. I'll often say I host a weekly call, might have 40 people on that call, maybe 10 of them jump in the queue to ask a question or get into some dialogue. And I'll often say, it's all good, man. I appreciate, those players on the field today that hit *61, got in the queue. And I know they're spectators. I know we got spectators on every call. And that's okay, because to play the game of life, you need the players and you need the spectators, and hopefully at some point in time, those spectators are players on the field. And so my tip is, look, you've got a playing field, right? We all have a playing field. I don't know what your playing field is. If you're listening right now or watching this, I know what my playing field is, but there's the tip. You've got a playing field, whether you think you do or not. Here's the challenge. Get down on the field and start playing. Quit being a spectator. We've all got opportunities, so many opportunities that go by to make a difference. Be inspired by Jackie Robinson and what he fought through for the sake of change, for the sake of making our world a better place. Get down on your playing field and start playing the game. Start playing the game at a higher level.
Dude, that's awesome, man. I love it. Start playing the game at a higher level. Part of this is design, right? Think about Branch Rickey. He really kind of strategically mapped this out. He wasn't naive to the challenge that was in front of him, but he had a bigger picture in mind.
Yeah.
And I love what he says. He says, luck is the residue of design.
Love that. Yeah.
I mean, isn't that a killer quote and that's the tip and challenge I want to leave with everybody, right? Look, I know, who's it? Clint Eastwood, rather be lucky than good. Well, you know what? Luck is the residue of design. What are you designing? Yeah. What are you preparing for? Are you willing to step out of the comfort zone and change the status quo and do something different? Because those that do, they change the world. Great. That's what we get with Jackie Robinson and Branch Rickey and so many others. And that's why we talk about breaking average. We have an opportunity. We have the potential to make those kind of impacts.
Brett, you mentioned breaking average. Well, there it is. Spectators. That's what the average people are doing, right? Yeah. They're up in the stands. just watching the game, watching what's going on, maybe rooting for the home team. But that's what they're doing. They're taking, right? They're receiving. They're getting the entertainment. They're getting the enjoyment. Nothing wrong with that. Look, hey, without without the spectators, the games could get, well, yeah, remember a couple of years ago when we had games with no spectators, back when they finally started playing some stuff again. And that's I'm kind of fixated on that idea now. Remembered some of those stadium shots when they're piping in noise, right?
Yes.
Remember that?
Yes.
Man, so they're creating the spectators. So the spectators are necessary, right? We get that.
Yeah.
But hey, you can't be a spectator 100% of the time.
And the other thing that I want to talk about before we totally end this thing is the critic. Right? So you got the spectator, you got the player, you got the critic. And sometimes we're our own worst critic, right?
Yeah.
And how does that serve us?
It doesn't.
Teddy Roosevelt, you said it before we turned on the record. What was Jackie's middle name?
Roosevelt. After Teddy Roosevelt.
Was it that the Roosevelt quote that we're talking about? I don't know. I get the two presidents confused, but we're talking about man in the arena. Right?
Yeah.
And in that quote, right? So I'm gonna pull this up really quick, guys. Just
that's
bear
a
with
good
me.
quote. I
What's
think
that?
I think that is Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah. So citizenship in the Republic. There's a phenomenal quote. They call it "man in the arena," right? It's and I'll read just a little bit of it, but the realization is that sometimes we face the critic. Jackie faced some critics outside of himself, and it makes you want to quit when you face the critic. But the critic isn't in your shoes, and if it's the self-critic that's compromising your ability to step forward, recognize it. Like, oh, wait a minute, that's the critic. And here's what Roosevelt said. He says, it's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat.
Is that appropriate or what?
Wow.
How could he say that when Jackie wasn't even here yet? And yet he had that whole quote just exactly about Jackie. Wow.
Yeah.
He's my favorite president.
There you go. Guys, this has been awesome. Barry, thank you. Thanks for bringing this one up.
Yeah,
I think we just trumped the Jordan one we just did.
It's only going to get better.
It is. It's only going to get better. We got some good ones coming. So, guys, stay tuned. Thanks for watching. And we really appreciate you. We'd love to hear from you. Let us know your favorite quotes, your favorite moments in sports, not just the ones that we share. We want to hear from you guys.
Take care, everybody.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to the Breaking Average podcast. If you loved what you heard, please take a moment to subscribe. This show was produced by R Squared Multimedia. All opinions and comments expressed in this podcast are those of the participants and do not reflect the opinions or views of any of the advertisers, producers, or platforms. As you continue your day, what is one action that you can apply from this podcast to your life? Tune in for our next episode as we continue to challenge everyone to break average.
All right, that was good.
Yes.
Did you like it?
dude, I'm just a Jackie fan. You know,
We hit it. I think we hit that one out of the park, right?
I think that was pretty solid, bro.
So if you were gonna say, all right, that was a base hit, first, second, third, or a home.
we don't really have anything to judge it against. That's a problem. So we don't hit singles because we break average. So we start with doubles.
Yeah.
So
But we do some steals though.
well, yeah. But see, so I think Jordan was a double. I think today was a triple, and we'll see where we go from here. And then if we need, Jackie can steal home. He was pretty good at that several times. Yeah,
I wonder how many times he stole home plate.
a lot. I don't know what the number is, but he had a lot. I mean, because he was fast. He was fast.
He was fast, so it wasn't just batting average. It was steals the bases and home plate.
He just was fast. He was an athlete. He's a stud, man. Track, baseball, basketball, and football.
That's right. And you were telling me his brother was in 36 games.
Yeah, Mac was as good as an athlete as Jackie was. Yeah, finished second to Jesse Owens.
Yeah.
36.
Cool deal. All right. Good choice again.